Look who just stepped into the most dangerous gratitude of their life. Hello to the accidental savior, the one who didn't ask for this. The person who just rewrote their entire existence with one impulsive act of humanity. Hello to you, because something happened, didn't it? Something that started as instinct and ended as a blood contract you didn't sign but can't escape. You saved a life without knowing the weight of that life. And now the entire underworld knows your name. Let's rewind the tape for a second. Back to that moment when everything was normal. Back when you were just another face in the crowd. Another civilian playing by the rules, living a predictable little life in a predictable little world. You had routines, safety, anonymity, the luxury of being nobody to everyone. Then it happened, that split-second decision that shattered your comfortable invisibility forever. It was a car accident, maybe someone collapsing in public, maybe a moment of violence you interrupted without thinking. Your hands moved before your brain could calculate the cost. You didn't see the tattoos, not at first. You didn't notice the expensive watch half hidden under blood-soaked sleeves, the scars that told stories your mind couldn't process. You didn't see the shadow of men in black SUVs watching from a distance, phones pressed to ears, reporting back to someone whose name makes governments nervous. All you saw was a human being in crisis. And your instinct, that stupid, beautiful instinct, that refuses to let suffering exist in your presence. You acted. You stopped the bleeding. You called for help. You stayed when every survival instinct should have told you to run. And then the eyes opened. Those eyes that have watched men beg for mercy. Those eyes that have ordered executions with a nod. Those eyes locked onto yours, and in that moment you became something you never asked to be. You became the person who saved the unsavable. The one who showed mercy to someone the world had written off as merciless. You became a debt holder in a world where debts are paid in blood, in loyalty, in ways that don't show up in any legal contract. Congratulations, you just became untouchable in the most terrifying way possible. Here's what they're not telling you about that moment. Here's what you couldn't have known when you made that choice. The man you saved, he's an architect of shadows, a king in an empire built on fear and respect. A man whose word is law in territories where actual law fears to tread. He's the kind of person who can make entire bloodlines disappear with a phone call, whose protection is worth more than any insurance policy ever written. And now he owes you everything. Not gratitude, not a simple thank you, not some cash reward that would make this transaction feel finished. No, in his world, in the code he lives by, when someone saves your life without knowing who you are, without wanting anything in return, that debt becomes infinite. You didn't save him for money. You didn't save him for status. You saved him because your soul still has that dangerous quality called humanity. And that makes you more valuable than any soldier in his army, more trustworthy than any advisor at his table, more protected than any fortress he owns. They're watching you now. Have you noticed? Not with suspicion, not with threat, but with something far more unsettling. Reverence. Those men in expensive suits who seem to appear wherever you go. They're not following you. They're guarding you. That car that always seems to be 3 vehicles behind yours, that's not surveillance. That's a mobile fortress, ensuring nothing touches you. Those strangers who nod at you in coffee shops, who step aside when you walk past, who seem to know your name before you introduce yourself. They've received the word. You are under protection from forces that don't answer to badges or governments. The beautiful horror of your situation is this. You can't refuse it. You can't wake up tomorrow and decide you want your old life back, your anonymity, your safety through invisibility. That life ended the moment you chose compassion over self-preservation. You're marked now, not with ink, but with something far more permanent. A debt in the ledger of the underworld. And here's the thing about that debt. It doesn't diminish with time. It compounds. Every day you wake up breathing. Every night you sleep untouched. Every moment you exist without the chaos that follows most people in your position. That's the debt being paid. You want to know what's really happening behind the scenes? What's being arranged in rooms you'll never see? in conversations happening in languages you don't speak. Your name has been added to a list, a very short list, of people who are off limits to every operation, every territorial dispute, every violent calculation happening in the shadows. There are families who have been in this life for generations, who don't have the protection you now carry. There are soldiers who've bled for years who would kill to have the immunity you accidentally earned in one moment of pure instinct. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where your life becomes something you couldn't have scripted in your wildest dreams. This protection is not passive. It's not just about keeping bad things away from you. It's active. It's a force that moves obstacles before you even see them coming. That job promotion that seemed to come out of nowhere, that legal trouble that mysteriously disappeared, that person who was making your life difficult who suddenly transferred to another city. Do you think those are coincidences? Do you think the universe just decided to smile on you right after you saved a man whose enemies have enemies who have enemies? No, my friend. That's the debt being paid in ways you can't see, in movements happening in darkness to ensure your light keeps burning. And the man himself, the one you saved, he's not some distant figure sending protection from afar. He's studying you, learning you, watching how you navigate this new reality you've been thrown into. He sees how you're handling the weight of knowing what you know, of feeling the presence of protection you didn't ask for, of living with the knowledge that your one act of kindness has permanently altered the trajectory of your existence. And what he sees, it's confirming what he suspected in that moment when your eyes met his. That you're different. That you're not driven by the things that drive most people. That your core operates on a frequency so rare in his world, it's almost mythical. Let's talk about what happens next, because this story is just beginning. That debt he owes, it's not something that gets paid and forgotten. It's something that evolves, that transforms into something neither of you can fully control. He's going to test you, not with violence, not with threats, but with opportunity. He's going to offer you things, access to power you never imagined, solutions to problems you didn't know could be solved, doors opening into rooms where decisions that affect millions of lives are made over drinks and handshakes. And here's your test. Can you stand in those rooms without losing yourself? Can you accept help without becoming dependent? Can you navigate this new world without becoming what it creates? Because here's the trap that's being set, not by him, but by the nature of power itself. Once you taste what it feels like to have problems disappear, to have obstacles removed, to have the machinery of the underground work in your favor, it becomes addictive. Once you feel the weight of protection so absolute that fear becomes a foreign concept, going back to normal vulnerability feels like nakedness. Once you experience the respect that comes from being associated with untouchable power, regular human interactions start feeling hollow, pedestrian, beneath you. That's the real danger you're facing. Not violence, not betrayal, but transformation into something you never intended to become. They're placing bets on you right now, in circles you don't know exist. Some think you'll leverage this debt, that you'll start making requests, asking for favor into another player in the game. Others think you'll try to distance yourself, that you'll attempt to refuse the protection, to go back to being nobody. And they're laughing at that possibility because they know it's impossible. But there's a third group, the ones who interest him most. The ones who think you'll do something no one expects. That you'll accept the debt without being corrupted by it. That you'll walk through this dark world while keeping your light intact. And that's the outcome he's hoping for. Because it would mean he didn't just survive, he was saved by something genuinely rare. Here's what you need to understand about the position you're in. You're not a prisoner. You're not a puppet. You're not being controlled. You're being protected, yes, but more than that, you're being watched for potential. He didn't build an empire by making poor assessments of character. He didn't survive decades in a world where trust is usually fatal by being a bad judge of souls. When he looks at you, he sees something his world desperately needs. Someone who operates from principle rather than profit. Someone whose actions come from instinct, pure action without hidden agenda. And that makes you more valuable than any soldier, any attorney, any politician he has in his network. But let's get darker for a moment. Let's talk about what happens if you try to run. If you wake up tomorrow and decide you want out. That you'll move cities, change your name, disappear into normal life and pretend none of this happened. Do you think that's possible? Do you think a man who controls territories larger than some countries, whose reach extends into governments and corporations, whose network includes everyone from street soldiers to senators, do you think he couldn't find you in any corner of this planet within hours? But here's the thing. He wouldn't look for you with anger. He'd look for you with concern. Because to him, your attempt to run would signal that you don't understand the gift you've been given, the protection you carry, the debt that shields you from a world far more dangerous than you realize. You saved him from dying. But what you don't know is what he's now saving you from every single day. That business partner who was planning to betray you, dealt with. That person who was spreading lies about you, silenced. That dangerous situation you would have walked into next month, prevented before you even knew it existed. The debt isn't being paid in dramatic moments you can see. It's being paid in dangers you never face, in enemies you never make, in disasters that never reach your doorstep. He's not just protecting your present, he's protecting your future, clearing the path ahead of you in ways you couldn't orchestrate with all the money in the world. And here's where your psychology gets tested. How do you live with that knowledge? How do you wake up every day knowing that your safety isn't self-earned, that your peace isn't self-created, that your continued existence in this world is being actively maintained by forces operating in shadows? Does that make you grateful? Or does it make you feel powerless? Does that bring you peace? Or does it bring you paranoia? Because that's the real payment he's extracting. Not your service, not your loyalty, not your soul, but your psychological transformation. He wants to see if you can accept being protected without becoming dependent, if you can acknowledge the debt without being crushed by it, if you can live in the space between normal and untouchable without losing your mind. Let's talk about the moment when you'll finally meet him again, because that moment is coming. Not in a hospital, not in some moment of crisis, but in a place of his choosing. At a time of his design, you'll receive an invitation, not a command, an invitation to dinner, to a conversation, to a moment where the debt can be acknowledged between two human beings rather than through layers of protection and surveillance. And in that meeting, you'll see him as he really is. Not the wounded man you saved, but a human being who survived something he shouldn't have survived, who owes his continued breath to your split-second decision to be kind in a world that punishes kindness. And he's going to ask you a question. Not what you want, not what you need, but who you are. He's going to want to understand the person who lives inside the body that saved him, the mind that operates on instinct rather than calculation, the soul that still believes in helping strangers. And your answer to that question, however you choose to answer it, is going to determine what happens next, whether this debt becomes a burden or a blessing, whether this protection becomes a prison or a platform, whether your accidental heroism becomes a curse or the beginning of something you couldn't have imagined. Because here's the secret they don't tell you about saving powerful people. You don't just save their life, you save their faith. A man like him, after decades in a world built on betrayal, deception, and violence, he stops believing in genuine goodness. He stops trusting that altruism exists. He starts seeing every act of kindness as a transaction disguised in moral clothing. And then you stumbled into his death moment and reacted with pure instinct. No agenda, no knowledge, no calculation. You reminded him that somewhere in this brutal world there are still people who act from the heart rather than the head, who save lives because it's the right thing to do, not because there's something to gain. And that reminder, that's worth more than money, more than loyalty, more than any commodity in his world. You restored something he thought he'd lost forever. Belief in humanity outside the darkness. And for that he will protect you until his dying breath. Not out of obligation, but out of gratitude, for reminding him he's still human too. You saved his body that day, but what you really saved was his soul. His connection to a part of himself that he'd buried under years of violence and moral compromise. You became proof that the world isn't completely corrupt, that kindness still exists, that somewhere in the midst of all this darkness, light persists. Now, let's let's get into the part they won't explain in any manual. The psychological warfare you're about to face from every direction. People in your life, your friends, your family, your colleagues, they're going to notice something has changed about you. They won't be able to name it, but they'll feel it. A new weight in your presence, a certainty in your movement, a lack of fear in situations that should produce anxiety, and they're going to ask questions. Probe gently at first, then more insistently, trying to understand what happened to you, why you seem different, why you carry yourself like someone who knows something they don't. And you can't tell them. That's the beautiful torture of your situation. You can't explain that you're under protection from forces they couldn't comprehend, that your act of humanity has permanently altered your relationship with danger and safety. So you'll smile, you'll deflect, you'll say something changed in you, some internal shift, some personal growth. And they'll accept that because they have no framework for the truth, no context for understanding what it means to be marked by the underworld as sacred, as protected, as untouchable. But some of them, the jealous ones, the competitive ones, the ones who are always secretly measuring themselves against you, they're going to sense your new position without understanding it, and they're going to react. They'll try to diminish you, to pull you down, to create problems where none existed. And here's where you'll see the debt in action. Here's where you'll witness what protection really means. Their attempts will fail, not because you're fighting back, not because you're defending yourself, but because invisible forces are moving obstacles out of your path before they can even manifest. Opportunities they try to block will open anyway. Lies they try to spread will die in silence. Schemes they construct will collapse under their own weight. And you'll sit there, watching it happen, feeling the presence of something moving on your behalf, clearing space for you to exist without constant warfare. And that feeling, that's when you'll understand the true weight of the debt, not as burden, but as transformation. You're not the same person you were before that moment. You can't be, because you've been touched by a world that operates on different laws, different codes, different realities. You've become someone who exists between worlds, normal enough to function in regular society, protected enough to be untouchable by regular threats. Let's talk about the nightmares you're going to have, because they're coming. Not nightmares about violence or danger, but nightmares about responsibility, about the weight of knowing what you know, about the implications of your new position. You're going to dream about the other people you couldn't save, about the randomness of fate that put you in that specific place at that specific moment. You're going to wake up wondering about parallel versions of your life where you walked past, where you didn't act, where he died and you remained anonymous forever. And you're going to torture yourself with the question, did you do the right thing? Not morally. You know you did the moral thing. But practically, strategically, for your own safety and peace of mind. And here's the answer you'll eventually come to after weeks or months of wrestling with this question. It doesn't matter what you think now. The choice is made. The debt is written. The protection is active. You can't unmake that moment any more than you can unremember your own name. You can't go back to not knowing what you know, not feeling what you feel. The only choice you have now is how you navigate this new reality, whether you let it consume you, or whether you find a way to exist within it while maintaining who you are at your core. Because that's his real test. That's what he's watching for in all this observation and protection. He wants to see if the person who saved him, the soul that acted from pure instinct, can survive knowing the weight of what that action created. He wants to see if you'll be corrupted by protection or if you'll remain incorruptible despite it. If you'll leverage the debt or if you'll simply accept it as a strange gift from a universe that operates on principles beyond human understanding. And depending on how you navigate this test, depending on who you remain, despite everything changing around you, that's going to determine what comes next. The invitations are going to come, not just from him, but from others in his world who've heard about you, the person who saved the unsavable. They're going to want to meet you, to understand you, to see if you're real, or if you're just another actor playing a role. And these meetings, they're not threats, they're assessments, opportunities for you to prove that your character isn't a facade, that your instinct to help wasn't a one-time fluke, that you really are the rare thing you appeared to be, someone operating from principle in a world that abandoned principles long ago. And how you handle these meetings, how you present yourself, whether you show fear or confidence, whether you try to leverage your position or simply exist in it, that's going to ripple through an entire network of power. Because here's what you represent to them. Hope. Hope that the world hasn't completely rotted. That somewhere in the chaos there are still people whose actions come from the heart rather than the wallet. That humanity isn't completely extinct in the modern age. You're living proof that altruism still exists. That someone will still stop to help a dying stranger without calculating the cost or benefit. And in a world built on cynicism, in circles where trust is usually fatal, you've become something almost mythical. The person who acted without agenda, who saved without wanting anything, who stumbled into power without seeking it. And now they want to know if you're as real as you appeared in that moment, or if time will reveal you to be just like everyone else, just slower to show your true calculating nature. That's the scrutiny you're under, not from enemies, but from believers. From people who want desperately to believe that someone like you exists, but have been disappointed too many times to trust easily. Every action you take is being measured against that moment. Every decision you make is being compared to that split second. Choice to save rather than flee. You've set an impossible standard for yourself without meaning to, and now you have to live up to it, or watch their faith in humanity die with your inevitable compromise. But here's the thing about impossible standards. Sometimes people meet them. Sometimes the person who acted from pure instinct in a crisis is exactly who they appear to be. Not a saint, not perfect, but fundamentally good in a way that survives contact with darkness without being consumed.